We're going to talk today about how understanding the difference between thoughts and feelings could save your life. I'm Dr. Paul Jenkins, a professional psychologist with almost 3 decades of clinical experience, and what you're about to learn in this video could save your life. I say that because I know lives that have been saved by understanding exactly what I'm going to share with you. Did you know that the number one predictive factor of suicidal thoughts or feelings is hopelessness? And hopelessness is generated by our thoughts. Before we get into the details about that, I invite you to notice something. Now, part of my job is to illuminate the obvious. This is cool. I get paid to tell people things they already know or to show them things that they already see. But there's a lot of obvious processes going on psychologically, obvious, that are completely unnoticed until I call them to your attention. Let's go there for a moment. Obvious but unnoticed. Do you notice that we're speaking English? Now, maybe you did, maybe you didn't, but probably it's obvious to you right now, even though you may not have noticed it before I called it to your attention. That's what we're talking about here. Many of the processes in our mind are in that realm, like this one, metacognition. Now, this is a fancy word. If you break it down, cognition simply means thinking. We're going to put that right here at this level. Metacognition is a higher level. It's thinking about thinking. Now, be careful with this. You can hurt yourself. I just want you to notice that you can do that. That's really important as we get into the difference between thoughts and feelings. So turn on your metacognition, think about your thinking as I make this bold statement. Circumstances are neutral. Now, I get fired for that sometimes because people don't feel like their circumstances are neutral. They feel like their circumstances are extraordinary. But we'll get to the feelings in just a minute. The circumstances themselves are neutral. Now, when I say that, I don't mean that circumstances are easy or painless. In fact, sometimes those circumstances are extremely painful and difficult. All I mean by that is, it is what it is. Now, that's a little annoying too, depending on who's saying it and why. But think about this for a minute. What it is, your circumstances, the way things are right now, it's who you are, it's what you have, it's who you're with, it's the way things are without changing anything, could always be better or worse. That's what I mean when I say circumstances are neutral. I've mapped this all out in a visual model around positivity. I'll send you a copy of this model. Go to the URL on your screen right now, drpauljenkins.com/the model, and I'll put this in your inbox. You can get a PDF copy of the visual that I'm referring to here, which just helps us to understand the processes that are going on in our own mind. For now, the most important thing about that to understand is that circumstances are neutral. Meaning, it is what it is. It could always be better. It could always be worse. Now, don't take my word for that. I want you to run it through your own filters and see if it's true. Because if that's true, then no matter how bad things seem, it could always be worse. Is that true? Yeah. I think if you'll turn on your metacognition, you'll see that it is. Now, is it true the other direction? No matter how good things seem, it could always be better. Yeah, that's true too. And if you're not sure about that, go check your bank account. It could always be better. All right, so establishing that circumstances are neutral, our thoughts about our circumstances are not neutral. In fact, our thoughts are very emotionally charged. You are always right about how you feel. This is a professional psychologist saying this. Pay attention. You are always right about how you feel. How you feel is 100% consistent with the way your own mind, your brain, is doing the thinking. And it's the thoughts that cause the feelings. It's not just as simple as saying it's your thoughts. that cause your feelings. There are two primary types of thoughts that I want to call to your attention right now. And this goes right back to the model that I promised to send you. drpauljenkins.com/the model. I'll give you a little copy of this. In this model, we break it into evaluation thoughts and creation thoughts. What does that mean? Evaluation is judgment. I just want you to notice, as you turn on your metacognition, that you're always judging your circumstances, yourself, your family, your spouse, your coworkers, the environment, the economy, the government. You're constantly judging. Do you see it? Now, the word evaluation implies comparison with some standard. So am I a tall man? Well, that depends on who or what you compare me to. And that's how you make your decision or your judgment about that question. The same thing happens when you judge your life. Do I have a good life or a bad life? I don't know. What are you comparing it to? A couple of years ago, I had a guest on my podcast, Live on Purpose Radio, by the name of Gabriel Adams. Now, Gabriel is a young man who has no arms and no legs. In fact, the title of that episode was No Arms, No Legs, No Problem. I remember about the time I was doing this interview with Gabe, I had sprained my ankle and it hurt. So if I were to say, oh, my foot hurts, Gabe might say, you have a foot? Do you see the comparison? How we judge our circumstances depends on what we compare it to. I just want you to notice that. And you're never wrong about how you feel. You're always right about how you feel, which is consistent with what you're thinking. Are you tracking this? This is really important because it's not just judgment that we're doing. The other thought category that I want to call to your attention right now is creation. And I'm not talking about what is, I'm talking about what is to be, and that doesn't exist yet. We haven't created it yet. So the only place it exists right now is in our imagination. What happens when we imagine? Because we don't know. In fact, connect with that for a minute. How are you doing next week? You don't know. You've got something to do with it. Please don't forget that. But you don't know, so all you can do is imagine it. Now, when we imagine or predict or expect that what's coming is even worse than what we've already got, how do we feel? That is anxiety. There's 30 years of clinical experience for you in a nutshell. Alternately, when we expect or predict or anticipate that what's coming is even better than what we've already got, how do we feel? That is hope. Do you remember when I said earlier that hopelessness is the number one predictor of suicide? Because of that, hope is the number one preventative factor. And when we understand how to operate the equipment of our own brain, we can generate hope on demand. We can actually choose it. You've probably heard before that happiness is a choice. Until you see what's going on in your own mind, you don't have a choice. Once you see it as a choice, it becomes a choice. Learn about your brain. Let me help you with that. I mentioned the model. Go get it right now. drpauljenkins.com/the model. I'll put it in your inbox and then subscribe to this channel so that I can be on your team to help you refine your own thinking.